Hi everyone. In today's video, I'm going to check out the lore of the Tallarn Desert Raiders. Masters of hit and run, they are deeply tribal, but also exceptionally loyal servants of the Emperor. Throughout the video, I'll also draw on my experience as a former soldier in the Australian Army to give a sense of what it'll be like for them to fight in the 40th millennium. New to my channel, I cover everything Astra Militarum with hobby, tactics and lore videos, so please subscribe for more. The history of the planet of Tallarn is rich, but not in the positive sense of the word. Once a prosperous agri-world, the events of the Horus Heresy saw it ruined by planet-wide virus bombing. The traitor Astartes of the Iron Warriors bombarded the planet with their deadly munitions, which seek out and destroy all life, even down to the molecular level. This rendered the once lush green planet's surface into an inhospitable, toxic desert. But what awaited the Chaos Space Marines upon landing on the planet's surface was not the empty, dry dust corpses of the Tallarans, but instead survivors who had seen through the bombardment in underground bunkers. Both sides then went on to reinforce the planet, resulting in one of the largest tank battles in human history. The toxic environment meant no infantry could operate on the surface, forcing only armoured vehicles to operate, with some 10 million fighting across the planet, and leading to the eventual defeat of the Iron Warriors, the Emperor protects. The Tallarans then go on to have a colourful history of uncovering a chaos relic of Blackstone that summons Elder of the Craftworld, the Iron Warriors again, plus Chaos Demons. Gosh, give them a break. They then oddly form an alliance with the Elder to defeat the Iron Warriors together, shake hands, and the Elder go off on their merry way. So Tallarn culture is deeply tribal, with 5 tribal alliances, which I won't bother trying to pronounce, as I'm basically dyslexic when it comes to anything complex in 40k. However, these alliances run deep within Tallarn culture. This results in blood feuds that can last generations, with Tallarn children learning at an early age that their duty to the Emperor is equally as important as the blood feuds held between different tribes. These feuds have led to all-out tribal war, with a commissariat having to get involved to eventually sort it all out. What further drives the division is the differing approaches to religion. Religion is a complex topic in 40k, with the most strict mandating that the Emperor of Man can never be viewed as a spiritual being. All Tallarans do view the Emperor in a spiritual sense, but some also view a once powerful astropath as a messenger of the Emperor, with others completely rejecting the notion that a mortal being can ever represent anything close to the Emperor. How complicated. So whether the Tallarans now live on their planet, and given the surface is still highly toxic, they have constructed great covered domes or live in natural caverns, with the earliest survivors of the Horus Heresy constructing great towers that draw clean moisture from the upper atmosphere, hence providing a basic water source. And water is a very important element of their pre-battle rituals. Before each major battle, they'll wash in purpose-chosen bathing pools alongside their tribesmen, and dedicate themselves to the protection of the Emperor in prayer. It is here that the heavily scarred bodies are exposed. Backs, forearms or even foreheads could be purposely scarred in elaborate patterns and stained by rubbing ash into the wound. These would be cut in honour of previously successful campaigns, forever marking their body with memory of triumph. These markings are meant to ensure that other warriors are aware of the history of each other, showing respect where due. See, saving face is also a foundation of the Tallarn masculine culture. This is taken so seriously that one of the 5 tribes actually completely focuses on being mediators, experts in resolving argument and conflict, whilst ensuring both parties don't feel dishonoured or shamed by the resolution. A common practice to resolve disputes is to share salt. Here blessed salt is shared between 2 warriors, each taking turn to pass and pour on the ground, reciting religious texts to bind each other together in brotherhood. How effective these practices are is highly debatable, with distant disagreements soon resurfacing, sometimes resulting in all-out violence. And it is in violence that they are most at home. They don't have a favour of the more traditional tactics of the steady advance, as favoured by other Astra Militarum armies like the Mordians or Valhallans, instead opting for lightning raider-style strikes. Their greatest strength is in their mobility, which naturally suits a homeworld desert planet surface with its wide open spaces. The infantry are equipped for this with calf-length puttees, webbing with canteens, shamargs, and blast ocular goggles to protect from sandstorms. Having served in the infantry, I can kind of relate to the conditions the Tallarans operate in. Whilst I never operated in desert-style conditions, it sometimes felt like I certainly did. Summertime in the Australian outback is often under 40-degree heat, which can be a genuine killer. Standard infantry load including weapon, ammunition, helmet, water, food, survival and shelter equipment typically weighs about 28 kilos or 60 pounds. This is before body armour, which has been a permanent fixture of the most recent two wars. The Tallarans in comparison are carrying significantly less equipment and no body armour, which raises the questions of the benefits of mobility over bulky protection. Given their focus on lightning raids, ambushes and deliberate baiting of enemy forces to encircle, clearly the Tallarans won't be donning flak armour like the Cadians, instead relying upon the faster movement to avoid enemy fire. But tying into this will be the Tallarran use of vehicles. Desert warfare is typically fought over large areas, where vehicle mobility is a must-have. Tallarans utilise the full complement of vehicles with chimeras, salamanders, Leman Russ and what they refer to as birds or scout sentinels, with their pilots highly skilled at manoeuvring the nimble walker's piston legs on the slippery and sometimes unstable sandy surfaces. They'll literally run circles around the enemy, using sand dunes to suddenly appear to unleash multi-laser or autocannon fire, before disappearing before the enemy can return fire. Squadrons of 3 birds will work in unison with other squadrons moving in interlocking patterns. They'll have the enemy formation funneled and directed into planned kill zones. Their Leman Russes are used not as battering rams but instead as rapiers to suddenly strike at the opportune moment at a critical point in the enemy formation, having shaped and shifted the enemy force, exposing weak points and gaps in their protection. The wealthiest of tribesmen may also go to war riding a dromad, which is similar to a camel or horse, being able to accurately fire whilst on the gallop. Very impressive. But don't forget the simple challenges of operating in desert conditions. Just like operating in extreme cold Arctic environments or a jungle setting, desert warfare presents its own unique challenges. The first I mentioned before is the simple, massive distances. Vehicles require fuel, which in turn requires a supply chain to operate across the huge distances. Something which doesn't get much love in Astra Militarum lore is the complex network of the Departamento Militarum. The Imperial Infantryman's Handbook does highlight their importance, and you could definitely argue in this type of terrain more so than ever. Supply caches would need to be hidden to allow refueling of bird squadrons as they harass enemy units in deep desert. And finding these caches would be a challenge in itself. Desert terrain is typically quite sparse, which would make navigating difficult, given there are few obvious landmarks to work with. Also, given how open and sparse it is, being caught in the open is an ever-present risk. Enemy aircraft and well-placed artillery strikes could chew through exposed troops with nowhere to hide or take cover. Communication is very, very important, but requires powerful voxcasters to push the signal far enough. Sandstorms could cause significant disruption to signals and flat out bury alive troops caught outside their vehicles. But for the Tallarans, this is all simply part of a way of life. Just like the ice-cold conditions are to the Valhallans, the sweaty, muddy jungle is to the Catechans, and the perfectly ironed uniforms, polished boots and shiny bayonets are to the Mordians. So there you have it, a quick bit of lore on the Tallarran Desert Raiders. Hope you enjoyed it and let me know in the comments. I've done other videos covering other aspects of Astra Militarum lore, including the Catechans, Mordians, the Commissariat and also Astra Militarum weaponry. You can check them out in the playlist at the end of the video. So if you enjoyed this, feel free to subscribe for more content about Astra Militarum. I cover all aspects of the hobby, including building and painting, tabletop tactics and also lore. And if you're feeling super generous, you can support me on Patreon, a link is below. Thanks for watching, see you next time.